at that same time, as a Muslim, especially if you are someone who is visually Muslim, whether it be a male who's wearing a beard, whether it be a sister who's wearing hijab, obviously the people will know that you're Muslim. Your character is your da'wah. In that same way, when I was younger, I used to see many Muslims dressed in Islamic clothing going to the mosque. And some of them, you'd stop and you'd talk to them and they'd be the best of people. I remember there was one brother, every time we'd see him going to the mosque, he'd always stop and he'd always say hello to us. He knew that we were non-Muslims, but he was always very kind to us. And it's actually interesting that over time, we saw this man as a figure of everything that was moral. So for example, when we were younger, if we were making trouble, we'd see this man coming and we'd stop making trouble. Even though we weren't Muslims, we'd even sometimes, when we'd go to the local alcohol store to buy some alcohol, we had to go home past the mosque. So from the alcohol store to our home, we had to pass the mosque. So we'd always try and go quickly past there in case this man saw us, because we had this fear in our hearts. We thought, if he sees us, what will we say? Even though for us, as non-Muslims, it was permissible, it was halal for us to drink alcohol, we had this fear of this man because he was someone who was so kind to us. He was someone who was so generous. Sometimes when we were sitting around, he'd come and he'd bring us food from the mosque. This was a man who no doubt was a bridge to Islam. He was someone who showed us the good character of a Muslim. He was someone who made us love Islam. So much so that when we'd see people doing activities at the mosque, like one time there was someone who had done some graffiti, some spray paint over the fence of the mosque. We saw this man and some others cleaning the fence. And even though we weren't the ones who did this, we felt bad, so we began to help them. There was a love between us just because of this character. In that same way, you can have a character which turns the people away from Islam. Many Muslims that I met, they would have the worst of characters. They would steal from you, they would lie to you, they would do all of the things that a Muslim shouldn't be doing. And you'd say to them, as a Muslim, should you be doing this? And they would freak out. I'd say, you're being a bad Muslim. And they'd say, you can't tell me if I'm a bad Muslim or not. This isn't up to you. You're a non-Muslim. What do you know? Leave me alone. Don't tell me anything like this. Don't advise me. So this is a character which turns you away. You think, why would I want to be one of these people? Because brothers and sisters, for those who do not know about Islam, and the majority of the people who are not Muslims, really, they have a very limited knowledge about Islam. All they know is yourself. You are the one who is there to convey the message. They don't have the books of hadith. They don't have the Qur'an to read. They don't have the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ. They don't have the stories of the companions. All they know about Islam is you and your character. And if your character is deficient, they will see Islam as deficient. Even though this is not doing justice to Islam. Fortunately, if I saw the bad character of Muslims, I would do justice. I would say, well, maybe that's what they're doing, but I want to see what Islam says. But many people, they don't have access to learn about Islam, nor do they have the desire to learn about Islam. So really, they're accepting Islam, they're learning about Islam, their understanding Islam is upon your shoulders. If you have a classmate who is a non-Muslim, you are the one, it's upon you to bring Islam to them. And could you imagine, so many people you will meet each day, and you have not told them anything about Islam. Imagine that there's one person in one of your lectures, in one of your classrooms, in any situation where you have in school, and you were sitting next to this person, and you knew this person, and you spoke to this person, and you never told them about Islam. On the day of resurrection, you might see this person being put into the hellfire, and they will be saying, you were the one, you knew me, you were Muslim, you had this message, and you didn't convey it to me. Could we imagine this, the severity, subhanAllah? We want every person to embrace Islam. We want to spread this message from one corner of the globe to the other. We want to tell everyone about it, what we have. It's something which is not a secret. It's something which we're not hiding away. It's not a treasure that we don't want to share. Rather, this is a treasure that we do wish to share. And it's a treasure that if we were to give, it would only increase in its wealth. It would never diminish. So subhanAllah, this is a message that we have to spread. It's a message which when we spread it, it benefits us. So sometimes you might give a book to someone, give them a pamphlet, give them a CD, and all of these things were benefits. Like for myself, all of these things, I was given them and they benefited me. But ultimately, you can't leave it at that. Because you give someone a book, they might not read it. You give someone a CD, they might not listen to it. You give them a DVD, they might not watch it. So rather, what we're going to have to do is try as much as we can to give the da'wah from our own character.